Nito lamang Martes ay nagsimula na po ang oral argument kaugnay po sa anti-terror law. Naging mainit nga po ang unang sultada ng debate para questionin ang nilalaman ng kontrobersyal na batas. Ano naman kaya ang masasabi ng konsehong bumuo ng implementing rules and regulations ito? Makakasama natin ngayong umaga ang kalihim po ng Department of Justice para ipaliwanag sa publiko ang batas at para sagutin na rin po ang iba pang investigasyon na pinangungunahan ng kanyang ahensya. Magandang araw po, DOJ Secretary Menardo Guevarra.
Good morning, Yusek Rocky, and good morning, Aljo. How are you?
Opo, mabuti naman po. Secretary, as DOJ Secretary, so far, ano po yung assessment ninyo sa naging oral argument on the anti-terror law nito pong Martes?
Actually, Rocky, I was in a meeting when the oral arguments were being held. No? But based on what I have read and heard about the initial day of oral arguments, I understand that much of the discussion focused on certain preliminary or procedural matters, no? Such as, for example, the matter of judicial hierarchy. Appropriate for the petitioners to file their petition immediately or directly with the Supreme Court rather than filing their petitions with courts with concurrent jurisdiction at the Court of Appeals and the Regional Trial Court. I understand in particular that Justice Leonen questioned raised the issue of whether the matter is ripe for adjudication. Kung merong actual na damage or injury that has already happened as would justify the filing of the petition, or is this something that can be resolved by the court on its face, facial challenge. No? So these are interesting preliminary issues, and we have seen na doon pa lang sa preliminary issues na yon ay meron na mga fireworks. So we can expect a lot more interesting arguments when we come to the more important substantive issues like the powers of the Anti-Terrorism Council, the issue of the alleged ambiguity or vagueness of the definition of terrorism, and so forth, the matter of proscription, and the powers of the AMLC, and so forth and so on. So these are the substantive issues that are awaiting resolution by the court. But first and foremost, the petitioners have to overcome the procedural issues that are raised by the Justice of the Supreme Court.
Opo, pero Secretary, ang sinasabi po dito, malabo daw po yung definition na sinasabing Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020. Yan po yung ang kinuwestiyon ng mga petitioner. Kasi sinasabi po nila, hindi daw po malinaw yung tinatawag na banggit nyo nga po kanina, acts of terrorism, base po dun sa batas.
That will be dealing with the merits of the case already. No? Kaya as much as possible, I would not like to comment. But I just want to say that yung sinasabing vagueness or ambiguity in the law itself is somewhat, kumbaga parang nabigyan ng lunas or remedied by the implementing rules and regulations that was crafted by an interagency group led by the DOJ. So we're hoping that with the implementing rules and regulations, vagueness in the provisions of the law have been somehow remedied. No? So we leave it to the Supreme Court to resolve whether the alleged vagueness has actually been remedied by the implementing rules and regulations. So let's wait until that particular issue is dwelt upon by the protagonists in these petitions.
Opo, kasi Secretary, ilang beses na nga pong nabanggit sa oral arguments yung nabanggit nyo kanina, facial challenge ng anti-terror law. Wala naman daw po kasing actual na kaso na nadehado sa batas. Maaari nyo po bang ipaliwanag sa ating mga kababayan, ano po ba itong facial challenge na ito?
My understanding about the term facial challenge ay yung on the face, no? Kaya siya tinawag na facial. On the face of the law itself ay makikita kaagad ang kanyang invalidity or unconstitutionality. Maybe not the entire law, but certain provisions of the law are alleged to be on their face invalid for being unconstitutional. So normally kasi, Rocky, ang situation is you don't normally go to court unless there is an actual controversy na kailangan mong iharap sa husgado. No? Halimbawa, may actual damage has already been inflicted upon the complainant or upon the petitioner. Otherwise, kung wala pang actual na injury or damage, wala pang cause of action na tinatawag. Kaya normally hindi pa sinasampayan sa court. No? There is only one situation where wala pang breach or wala pang violation, pero po pwede nang i-file sa court. No? At yun ang yung tinatawag na petition for declaratory relief. But hindi ito yung petitions before the Supreme Court. Ang petitions before the Supreme Court are original petitions for certiorari and prohibition, which involve grave abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction. So, yung facial challenge, yun ang allegations ng petitioners na on the very face of the law itself, makikita naman na may invalid or unconstitutional na provisions. So, let's see how the Supreme Court will look at that contention. No?
Opo. Secretary, sakto naman po doon sa oral argument, yung paglutang po ng kaso ng dalawang ITAS na inaresto matapos lumabag di umano sa Anti-Terrorism Act. Anila sila po ipilit na pinaamin ng miyembro ng NPA sa pamagitan po ng umano'y pag-torture nung sila ay nakadetain. Paano po makakaapekto ito sa pagdinig at sa pag-aaral po ng kataas-taasang hukuman tungkol po sa naturang batas?
Well, parang ang intindi ko dyan ay merong motion for intervention. No? Kasi if I'm not mistaken, these two ATAs or natives ay hindi pa actual parties to the case. That's why they're intervening. And they're saying that, in fact, because of this law, ay nagkaroon na nga sila ng injury suffered. No? Kaya parang ito yung contention in support of the position na, ayan, meron ng injury, meron ng damage, and therefore the Supreme Court may actually consider the petitions now. Hindi na magiging issue yung facial challenge because right now, ay merong mga individuals saying that they were actually injured or damaged by the law. But that is a contention, and the court will resolve kung papayagan ang kanilang intervention. If the intervention is not allowed, then we go back to the issue of whether the facial challenge will be sufficient.
Opo, Secretary, may pahabol lang pong tanong si Laila Salaveria ng Inquirer. Ano po? Ang tanong niya po sa inyo, what does he think of Lieutenant General Parlade's threat to sue a reporter for violating the anti-terror law over an article she wrote? Is this justified? Parlade indicated that the reporter could be considered aiding terrorists.
Yusek Rocky, there is an intention expressed to file a complaint. No? So maybe as a matter of propriety and prudence, my position as Secretary of Justice prevents me from commenting. Kasi, lahat ng mga ganyang klaseng kaso na maaaring makarating sa Department of Justice, yan ay iimbestigahan ng mga prosecutors. No? Walang involvement sa determination ng probable cause ang Secretary of Justice. Ang mangyayari dyan, pag ang aggrieved party ay hindi happy doon sa naging resolution ng prosecutor, that's a time that an appeal may be had to the Secretary of Justice. Kaya ang SOJ ang may last say on whether or not a case should be filed in court, no? Criminal case. Kaya as much as possible, pag mayroong mga ganyang controversies, may possible filing of a complaint or a counter-complaint, as much as possible, I refuse to comment because I may preempt or I may prejudge something that may be brought before me pagdating sa dulo. Kaya I hope you understand my situation.
Opo. Secretary, kaugnay naman po ng NPA at terorismo. Kayo po daw sa DOJ, ano daw po ang posisyon ninyo sa UP-DND Accord? Panahon na nga ba daw po para bawiin itong kasunduan dahil nagiging recruitment ground umano ito ng nasabing universidad po ng NPA?
Yusek Rocky, again medyo unique kasi yung aking position as Secretary of Justice. Alam nyo, ang contending parties dito, yung parang parties in dispute regarding the validity of the termination of the agreement between UP and the DND, no, or AFP. Parehong government instrumentalities yan eh. UP is a state university. And of course, the other part is the DND, which is a department under an agency under the executive department. So pag may ganyang controversy under the administrative code, they have to settle it either between themselves or bring it before the Department of Justice for administrative settlement or adjudication. So again, because of my situation, I may have to be called upon to resolve this issue if this matter is brought before the DOJ for administrative adjudication. I will have to decline making any preliminary comment at this time.
Okay.
I hope you understand my situation.
Yes, Secretary. Opo. Secretary, bigyan daan po natin ibang tanong na ating kasama sa media. Ano po? Mula po kay Evelyn Quiroz ng Filipino Mirror, you recently directed the National Bureau of Investigation to conduct an investigation into the reported manipulation of prices of pork and other basic commodities by certain unscrupulous groups and individuals. Are there indications daw po that there is a cartel manipulating the prices of prime commodities?
This arose because of the request ng Department of Agriculture, which the Secretary of Agriculture manifested during the last cabinet meeting, no? Requesting the creation of a sub-task group within the National Task Force on COVID-19 on economic intelligence, no? Dahil nga sa mga nangyayari na parang shortage or sudden spike in the price of basic commodities, basic foodstuff rather, including pork. So because of that, I have directed the NDI to start preparing. I suppose that the President will approve the recommendation for the creation of that sub-task group, because that's a very important step to take at this time. And the DOJ and the NBI will provide full support for the investigation of the situation. If there is a cartel or if there is a group manipulating the supply and pricing of basic foodstuff, then the NBI will surely focus on the existence of such group or syndicate or cartel. Because talagang pag may ganyan, there is a very strong possibility na talagang manipulate ang supply and consequently the pricing of basic foodstuff. So we'll get into that investigation very soon.
Opo. Mula naman po kay John Punsala ng ABS-CBN, what is the status daw po of the Drug War Review Panel? When will the initial report submitted to President Duterte be publicized? When do you expect to finish daw po the entire review? Will the CHR and other stakeholders be involved?
Yes. Last December, we submitted our initial report to the President on the findings of the review panel. No? Ang subject matter of the review panel, Rocky, as you probably know, ay yung mga namatay sa illegal drug operations ng law enforcement natin. So, mas na yan. As of last year, tumatakbo yan sa mahigit 5,000. No? But the DOJ-led group selected certain pilot areas muna for the investigation. At pinili namin mga areas na concentrated or heavy ang number of incidents na pertaining to yung parang mga namatay, no, because of drug operations. So, yung report na yan is with the President, and we made certain recommendations in the report. One of the recommendations is to provide a copy of this report for their appropriate action. So, nahandun tayo sa stage na yun ngayon. We provided a copy of the report where we made certain findings not so flattering against certain police enforcement officers, no, involved sa drug operations. And we gave the PNP sufficient time to comment on these findings. But be assured that this report, at least the findings and the highlights of this report, will be made public at the proper time. Right now, we're taking action on the findings that we have come up in this initial report. So, hindi pa naman siya kumpleto talaga. Meron pang mga further investigations na gagawin in other areas, no, like in the Visayas and Mindanao. We do not want to make it appear na yung findings namin in certain pilot areas like Region 3, Region 4, and certain major cities, no, ay truly representative of what is happening throughout the country. So, the answer to my question is at the proper time, we will share our findings with the public, with the media, but we will also include yung mga actions that we intend to take arising from this finding. So, hinihintay lang namin yung tamang time para i-share. But there is no intent to hide or the issue of transparency is very important to us. Kaya rest assured that these findings will be made public at the proper time.
Opo. Secretary, dito naman po sa usapin ng PhilHealth, may 20 daw pong bagong kaso kayong iniimbestigahan sa PhilHealth. So ano na po yung kinalaman ng mga kasong ito sa korupsyon sa loob ng ahensya? May top officials po ba na sangkot?
Yung sa Rocky, yung sa PhilHealth cases, yan kasi tinapos na namin yung report at nasubmit na namin yan sa presidente. No? Pero if you will remember, the president also directed the DOJ to create another task force to deal with corruption in the entire government. Kaya yung hindi namin natapos na investigation sa PhilHealth anomalies ay nasubsume na, no? Na-cover na, inabsorb na nitong panibagong task force on anti-corruption. So let's focus on the PhilHealth cases muna, no? So far, ang National Bureau of Investigation, which is a major component of the task force, has filed with the Office of the Ombudsman and with the Department of Justice at least 8 cases, no? 2 of them involve yung IRM o yung interim reimbursement mechanism, no? In the NCR, the amount involved was 2.7 billion, and also another case involving the IRM, which affects a private company, Bron Avitum, and the amount involved is 33 million. Now, also filed with the Office of the Ombudsman ay certain fraudulent claims in Cebu, involving a private hospital, Perpetual Succor Hospital. So yun yung mga na-file sa OMB. At yung na-file naman sa Department of Justice proper ay certain complaints pertaining to anomalies at PhilHealth, and these were filed at the prosecutor's offices in Manila, in Tagum, in Coronadal, in Zamboanga, and Tuguegarao. Kasama dyan yung WellMed accreditation case. So, meron pang isang final recently, ang Task Force Against Corruption through the PACC, no, yung Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission. At ito ay in connection with some anomalies doon sa PhilHealth in Region 1, where a certain victim was created by the name of Pamela del Rosario. At itong fictitious person na to ay nagfa-file ng claims sa PhilHealth when in fact ay wala namang such person existing. Na-file na rin yan sa OMB or Office of the Ombudsman. Ngayon, yung sa PhilHealth, ongoing pa rin yung investigations. Meron pa kami hindi natapos dyan. And we are focusing on the legal sector and on the ICT or in the information technology sector ng PhilHealth. So, with former NBI Director Dante Gueran at the helm of PhilHealth, we hope that we'll be able to gather evidence more easily, considering that the new president came from the NBI before.
Opo, Secretary, update lang naman din daw po dun sa Anti-Corruption Mega Task Force na pinangungunahan din po ng DOJ, kaugnay naman po dun sa DPWH.
Thank you for asking, Yusek Rocky. No? So far, as of yesterday, itong Task Force Against Corruption ay mayroon lang na-receive na 185 complaints from the public and from other agencies. No? Ang ginagawa kasi ng task force dyan, sino-sort out namin kung alin yung mga complaints alleging corruption, malversation, and stuff like that, at alin yung hindi properly covered under the jurisdiction ng task force. No? So, inaalis namin yung hindi talaga pang corruption issue. At we have retained, as of yesterday, 166 of corruption cases. Sa total na yan, napansin namin na mayroong mga nagduduplicate, no? Parang complaints about the same matter coming from 2 or more different persons. So anyway, dyan sa total number na yan na refer sa task force, 58 have so far been evaluated. At dyan sa na-evaluate na namin na yan, we have taken action on at least 36. Taken action means we have referred this to certain agencies for further investigation, or to the NBI for case build-up, or to a special unit within the DOJ para pag-aral. Kasi because some of these allegations are quite general, systemic, and kailangan ng mas masusing pag-aaral, no, bago mag-file ng anything with the ombudsman or with the DOJ. Kailangan maliwanag muna kung ano yung complaint at tutukoy, kasi ayaw naman namin magme-mention ng mga cases against if na hindi pa sufficient ang for the filing of the complaint. Kasi pagka mga pangalan ay pakira sa kanila kung if it will turn out na wala namang factual basis. So nagiging maingat din kami sa paghawak ng mga ganitong klaseng complaints sa Yusek Rocky.
Opo. Secretary, regarding naman po dun sa Dasera case, nakakadalawang autopsy report na po ang PNP at parehong aneurysm po yung resulta nito sa NBI. Kumusta naman po ang progreso ng investigasyon sa nasabing kaso?
Ang National Bureau of Investigation kasi ay inatasan ko rin na gumawa ng investigation. No? And according to the spokesperson ng NBI, si Deputy Director Ferdinand Lavin, ay they're winding up yung kanilang investigation. As far as I know, ay natapos na ang kanilang forensic examination. Meron na silang toxicology report. But, the NBI is trying to be as thorough as possible. All bases they're trying to cover. So, meron pa silang hinahanap na certain other witnesses na hindi pa nakapag-testify. Embalmer, I think, up nila. At meron silang mga hinahanap na mobile phones na isa-subject to a forensic examination. So, I think patapos na rin sila, and I am sure that bago matapos preliminary investigation being conducted by the DOJ, ay masasubmit na ng NBI yung kanilang final report dyan sa ginawa nilang kay Christine Dasera.
Opo. Pero Secretary, paano po kung iba yung lumabas sa parallel investigation ng NBI sa nasabing case? Di ba po ba magkakaroon daw ng confusion ng publiko sa ating otoridad?
Well, that is a possibility, assuming na magkakaroon yan ng different results, no? Ang forensic ng PNP at ang forensic examination ng NBI. So, pagka-graduation, I guess, ang gagawin ng investigating prosecutor sa office ng sa Makati, no, ay ipatawag at magpatawag ng clarificatory hearing baka ipatawag ng prosecutor na nag-investigate ang representatives ng PNP.
Hello again,
Opo.
Rafi and Aljo.
Opo,
Pasensya na at ang aming signal dito ay kuminsan nawawala sa Padre Paura.
Opo, papaumanin din po. Secretary, pwede niyo po bang ituloy yung paliwanag niyo tungkol kanina sa Dasera case? Yung tanong po natin na in case po na magkaiba yung resulta ng parallel investigation.
Well, of course, we're hoping na hindi na magkakaroon ng divergence, no? Pero kung sakali man na mangyari yon, because hindi ko pa naman talaga nakikita yung sa Rafi, yung report ng NBI, syempre, magkakaroon ng confusion pag nangyari yan. Kaya, ang nakikita kong mangyayari dyan sa situation like that, yung investigating prosecutor sa Makati, yung nagko-conduct ng preliminary investigation, will probably call a clarificatory hearing as part of the preliminary investigation. At maaaring tanungin niya ang representatives ng PNP at ng NBI kung ano ang kanilang scientific basis for their findings. No? And I suppose na madedetermine naman ng investigating prosecutor kung alin ang bibigyan niya ng mas higit na timbang sa pag-evaluate kung may probable cause ba dito sa kaso na itinile ng pamilya ni Christine Guevarra. Anyway, if you will remember, ang issue naman dito ay kung ang charge or ang complaint ay kung merong rape with homicide. No? So essentially, yan ang dapat na ma-resolve ng investigating prosecutor. Meron bang mga ebidensya na magpapakita na ni-rape at naging sanhi ng pagkamatay nitong si Christine Guevarra? Yan ang basic issue dyan.
Opo. Secretary, tungkol naman po dun sa tumataas na umano'y bilang ng lawyer killings, paano naman po natin sinisiguro yung kaligtasan ng ating mga abogado sa bansa?
Alam mo, Yusek Rocky, talagang ang profession ng mga abogado, whether nasa private practice o nasa government like sa prosecution service or nasa judiciary, ay talagang mapanganib, no? Kasi nasa very nature ng work ng mga lawyers yan eh, no? It's part of, kumbaga parang part of the profession na na-expose ka sa ganyang klaseng danger. But it doesn't mean na we will take it for granted. Kaya nga nagkaroon kami recently ng mga series of dialogues, no? Kasama pati ang Supreme Court at ang representatives ng Integrated Bar of the Philippines to discuss how to deal with this situation. Kasi ang mga lawyers, ang mga prosecutors, ang mga judges, sila yung mga, pati na isa na natin pati sa law enforcement who are also lawyers, sila yung nagpapatakbo ng ating criminal justice system. No? Not necessarily criminal, kahit yung sa mga civil cases, administrative cases. So hindi tatakbo yung sistema na yan kung walang mga abogado. Kaya nakakabahala kung merong patuloy na nababalita na napapatay because of their involvement sa kanilang profession. So on the part of the DOJ, Yusek Rocky, ang ginagawa namin sa ngayon ay ini-inventaryo namin ang lahat ng mga kaso na may napatay na lawyers or prosecutors or judges. And after we have completed an inventory of all these cases, ay imo-monitor namin very closely ang development sa investigation at sa prosecution. Kung halimbawa sa investigation ay nagkakaroon kami ng problema sa pag-gather ng evidence, ay wala kaming ibang pwedeng gawin kung hindi intensify further ang efforts, no, para makakuha ng ebidensya at magkaroon ng resolution ang mga investigasyon na ginagawa. At yun namang mga nasa korte na at pinoprosecute na, edi ang kailangan lang gawin dyan ay talagang bantayang mabuti at madala itong mga cases na to their conclusion para naman mabigyan ng hustisya yung mga kapwa-abogado namin na napatay, maaaring may connection sa kanilang trabaho, which is the most likely case, or maybe for some other reason. It could be personal, it could be business, it could be family. Maraming reasons na maaaring naging sanhi ng pagkamatay ng mga abogado. But by and large, we believe na mas may kinalaman yan sa kanilang profession as lawyers. So we're doing something about it. We cannot afford to disregard this situation kasi ang ating buong justice system ay mapeperwisyo, ay madadamage kung ang ating mga abogado will be killed just like that.
Opo. Secretary, kami po ay talagang nagpapasalamat sa ibinigay niyong panahon sa amin para po sumagot sa tanong ng taong bayan. DOJ Secretary Menardo Guevarra, salamat po. Stay safe po.
Maraming salamat din yung Rocky and Aljo for giving me an opportunity to inform the people about what the DOJ is doing. Thank you very much.